Please confirm if you can see my screen. Oh, okay, fine. Uh, Hello everyone. Welcome to the very first session of design class. My name is Shai Hulud, and I will be taking you through the first session of the design class. So first, the topic is introduction to UI UX and the design thinking. Sorry, hold on, please. Let me admit a couple of people in.
Hi guys, if you are unmuted, kindly mute, please. If you are unmuted, kindly mute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Vincent. Before we continue, a couple of house rules. One, please, your microphone should stay muted at all times. Two, if you have anything to say, please raise up your hand. I will definitely call you. Please try as much as possible not to interrupt while talking. Raise up your hand if you have a question, or if I'm going too fast, if you do not understand a concept, please raise up your hand. I will call you. Aside that, I think we're good to go. So, introduction to UI and UX. First, now we talk about UI and UX. We have UI and UX are concepts of a main body. And what is the main body? It is product design. Product design is the parent concept where UI and UX is just one of its many children. So now, to understand UI UX, you have to understand what the mother body is about, which is product design. So, in short, product design is the process of creating a new product, as the name implies, designing a product. And a product can be anything. A product can be your mobile app, your website, your clothing materials, even your food, even the human itself is a product, right? So now here we are going to focus mainly on web design and mobile app design. So most examples and most references I'm going to make are going to be related to web and mobile app design. So product design, in this case, a mobile app, is the process of from the start to the finish, from ideation to manufacturing, and it consists of there are a whole lot of processes under it where you have the UI, user interface, user experience, the coding, the development, the marketing, the business aspects, and all. So, product design is usually the mother concept, and the goal of product design is to create something that will be useful, aesthetically pleasing, useful, and meets the user needs. I can't just go ahead and create something that people won't really use. And we have like a whole lot of products that are close to not useful out there. So one example is the bookmark version 2. I don't know if anybody is familiar with this product. So what this basically do is it's a page bookmark app where you put it in between your, if you're reading a novel or your textbook or anything, you put it in between, and you can record the page your last read page where you stopped and all. And so it moves that data to your cloud, to a cloud where you can access the information on your phone. Now, yes, this is a good concept, but is it really useful? Why do I need to track where I am, where I could where I'm reading, where I could just go traditionally and maybe get a get a plastic ruler or anything, or fold the edge of the paper to know where I stopped. So this, yes, it's the concept is nice, but is it really useful? It I'm going to stress myself because there are a lot of resources that I'm going to put in before getting the page I stopped. I need to have a data connection, I need to have a mobile phone and all, just because I want to know where I stopped reading. So this is example of a product that is not really making a difference. So now, without further ado, let's go into today's business, which is the user interface. So UI is the full short form for user interface, and this mainly deals with the visual elements mainly, or everything you see. It's the UI. It focuses on creating a very attractive and aesthetically pleasing interface where users can interact with the product, and a good UI, you've done a perfect job in the concept of UI when your product is aesthetically pleasing, and people want to use it. When they see it, they would like to use it. Uh, Let me share a personal story. I've once bought a liquid soap thinking it's a juice in a supermarket because the packaging and everything looks so nice, right? It was when I got home, I read the body, and I was like, oh, this is not edible, this is not something I should consume. So yes, that is a aesthetically pleasant product. It attracts people to get, right. So what does a UI designer do mainly? A user UI designer, the interface designer, mainly makes the decision of what color should we use, what spacing should we use, what button type should we use. Should we use a rounded corner? How are they spacing? How what fonts should we use? So those are decisions a UI designer are going to make. Now moving to the other part, the second concept, which is user experience. I know some of you will be thinking, since your interface is UI, why user experience, not UE? Well, I did not make the rule, so maybe UX sounds cooler. So user experience, as the name implies, experience means how a user accepting the product. Okay, for example, a mobile an hotel booking app. How many clicks do I have to do before booking an hotel? Or a payment gateway. How many forms do I have to fill before I can make payment? Uh, a movie download website. How many clicks do I have to make before achieving my goal? So that is the experience. And is the button in the right place? Can I access it? What is the load time? Do I have to wait a long period before the website loads? And also those are the decisions you are going to make in the user experience. So a good user experience design will make sure that the product is easy to use. That's like the main part. It is easy to use. You're satisfying the customer. For a UI designer focuses more on let it be fine. Let's make it aesthetically pleasing. But a user experience designer think more of, okay, if we add this color, will the user be able to read the text? If we use a black text, will they be able to read it for a very long time without straining their eyes? Is the button easily accessible? What is the load speed? What is the load time? The position of buttons and all. So that is the decision a UX designer will make. In conclusion, UI and UX designer are both critical in creating a successful product. And yes, you should note they are intertwined. Any decision made by the UI designer is definitely going to affect the UX, the user experience designer. Sorry, am I audible enough?
Yes.
Very.
Okay, okay. AJF, I think it's your network. Try leaving the code and join back. So, in conclusion, UI design, UI UX are two concepts that, though they are different concepts, but they are intertwined. And most companies now, when they are hiring designers, they tend to hire a person that has both knowledge of UI and UX design, or probably because they don't really have the resources to allocate to a UI department, to have a UI department or an experience department. For bigger companies, say Google, Netflix, Amazon, yeah, those people have enough resources. So they have a department focused majorly on user interface and majorly on user experience. But for startups with limited resources, yes, they tend to combine the two roles together. But we should know UI, user interface, and UX, user experience, are two different standalone concepts. Though they have some similarities and they are intertwined, one decision of one person is definitely going to affect the decision of the other person, but they are different concepts. So now moving to the design thinking process. This part is mainly for the user experience. Well, I mean, before building a product, you have to understand why you want to build a product. You have to answer the how to's, right? You have to know how to go about it. Hence the design thinking process. So it's a process centered around the users. One mistake most designers make is they design things they feel um it's okay with them, like they design for themselves, which is a very wrong approach to product design or to anything. You don't think about yourself, you think about people that will use the product. So design thinking is a user-centered approach to solving problems. It involves understanding the behavior, the perspective of the users, mainly user-centered. And you should note that this is not a linear process, meaning you don't have to be it's not a rule written on the stone that okay, once I'm done with stage one, then I move to stage two, meaning I can't visit stage one again. No. So in my own word, I'll say it's more of a cyclical process, meaning I can finish stage one, then move to stage three. Then from stage three, if I'm still not getting the results I want, I can go back to stage one, right? So it's more of a back and forth thing before you can achieve in order to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So now there are basically five processes. There are basically five steps in the design thinking process, and the first step is define. Note, you should know that this process and listing is like I said earlier, it's particular to how I will be making references to web and mobile design, mobile app design and website design, right? So this process is tailored to that product. In some organization, in some articles, in other articles, and other thing, define most times is always the second stage. But as time goes on, you understand why I move into the first stage. So what you're doing in define, as the name implies, you define, you try to understand what the problem is. You try to create a problem statement. Now I'm going to use a product as an example. Say I have just been hired to build uh, a music streaming app, right? I have to meet with the key stakeholders of the business, those people that sorry, okay, those people employing me. I have to sit down with them, have a meeting with them to understand what product they want to build. So that is the define stage. Is the first to me. It is the first stage in the design process. Yeah, you understand, you have meeting with the stakeholders, with people giving you with the people creating the product. You have a meeting with them to understand what exactly they want you to make for them. So the next stage is the empathize stage. So after meeting with the stakeholders, understanding what they want you to build, then you can now you can now focus on the users. So empathize stage, you understand after knowing what you want to build, then who do you want to build it for? This is the second stage. You have to understand who are the users who are going to use the product. How do they think? How do they think? How what is their daily routine like? So mainly it's just to understand the behaviors of those people using the product. And yeah, the key outputs here are two things. One, the empathy map. In further classes, you're going to explain more about each of the design process and all the things that take place, all the outputs and all the tools you need, right? But I'm just going to give you like a summary, like a quick overview. An empathy map is basically a visual representation of how your users uh, a visual representation of your users, how they feel when you're talking with them, when you're bringing the idea to them, what they told you, what you're able to get from the conversation, from the interview. Uh, when you ask a particular question, how do they react to it and all. So those are the major outputs in your empathy stage. So and how do you get all this information? You get it through user interviews. Definitely I need to get information from you. I have to speak with you, I have to have a conversation with you before I can get the information I need. So hence the user interview. You can carry out a survey. It can be a post product survey, it can be a pre product survey. So all these concepts you will understand more during the user. There is a class mainly for user research. So I'm just giving like an overview. Uh, and are designing for the users. Like I'll keep laying emphasis on this. You don't design for yourself. You don't think this. You don't feel, oh, this should be nice. Like the users should accept this thing. Then you add the features. No, you have to go out there, ask them. Okay, if you have this feature, will you accept it? Will it be useful for you? Will it be able to reduce the time you are going to use to carry out a particular task? Then the next stage after the empathy stage is the idea stage. Now, after full understanding what the problem is and who your users are, then you can now sit back, go to your corner, go to your library, go to anywhere your workspace, then map out all ideas you feel can solve the problem. In this stage, it is critical to do this. And in this stage, bring in all the ideas that comes to your head, no matter how weird they sound, no matter how silly they might sound. So far, it pops in your head, write it down, put it on the table, right? So you entertain all ideas. So yeah, this step includes activities like brainstorming. Definitely, you have to, if you are a solo designer, you have to sit down, get your sticky notes, write out all the idea, and if you are a team, bring in the team if possible, meet in a workspace, share ideas. So that is the brainstorming part. Then mind mapping, ideal prioritization, and sketching. As the ideas are coming in, make sure you put them down. Don't just leave it lying in your head. Write it down. That's the best way to go about the ideation stage. Then after ideation stage, now you move to the next stage, which is the prototype. Sorry, is my network shaky? Hello, can you guys hear me fine?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Since I think it's yours. So you move to the next stage, which is the prototyping. Prototype are just digital representation of your ideas. Say, okay, let's say I'm building an online music streaming app. How do I want? Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Let's continue. A prototype is a digital representation of your ideas. Example, the one I'm using. I've been tasked to build or to design an online music streaming application. So I have my pen and paper. I have all the sketches, how I want the interface to look like, where I want the buttons to be, and so in this part, I move from the paper sketch to low fidelity. There are two. There are two different types of prototype sketching, right? But I will say two. In some context, in some articles, you will say three. So the first is the low fidelity prototype. In low fidelity prototype, though you're still going to learn more about it in coming classes, but let me do a quick run through. In the low fidelity prototype, all you just have the boxes and grays. Okay, I want a button to be here, represented um with a rectangle. I want the text to be here, represented with a rectangle. So that is a low fidelity prototype. And the high fidelity prototype is the one that has all the colors, right? Okay, now we know the button is supposed to be here. What color are we going to give the button? Is it blue or red? So the high fidelity prototype has all the colors, has all the sweet parts. So the goal here is to quickly test different solutions before it's it will be hard for you to design a full product, and after user testing you have to do a whole lot of correction. Then you have to go back to the MVP you've created and start changing and changing. That is not the best practice. So you do the high fidelity prototype, then send it out for test, right? Then if any changes from the result from your user feedback, you know what change is to make and what changes not to make. So after uh, this is a pictorial representation of a low fidelity design and a high fidelity design. Oh, I said in some context you might see three types of wireframing or three types of prototyping: the low fidelity, the high fidelity, and the mid fidelity. Most time I won't really add mid fidelity because it's more of a fidel a mid fidelity a mid fidelity prototype is more of a low fidelity with some text. You still have the brown boxes, but inside all the brown boxes, you now have your text. Here you have what can we help with you with what can we help with you today? Okay, I think that's a mistake, but let's keep it. So in a mid fidelity prototype, this text will be inside this box, still gray, no colors, still gray, but the text will be there. So it's just giving you a visual representation of a mind image of how the MVP is going to look like. So then we move to the next step of design process, which is the testing. Now we've understand what the stakeholders want, and we've gone outside to get information from the users, those people that will use the end product. Now we've designed, we've sketched, we've done prototype, we've created high fidelity prototype. We are not the users. Some people have to test it. So, and in this stage, as the name implies, you send it out, send it to the users, let them go, let them go through, let them peruse the app, try and perform tasks, then get reviews, get feedbacks. Is it easy? How are the buttons? Is it aesthetically pleasing? How many clicks do you have to make before listening to your music and all? So in this stage, this is where you gather useful information about your sketches, about design. So the goal is to identify areas for improvement and to make changes to them before sending out the product commercially for everybody to use. So that is the last stage of the design thinking process. And I will repeat this again. It is not a linear process. Now, after doing the tests and you have feedbacks, you have areas of improvements, you definitely have to go back. So if yeah, you get in- feedbacks like it's not aesthetically pleasing, meaning you have to go back to your ideation, to your sketch, and your prototype stage to improve. If it says it's not really meeting our needs, it's not solving our problem, you have to go back to the research, the empathy stage to fully understand what the problem is and what are the things you skipped, what are the things you can add to make it better, to make it solve the problem. So I think this is the end of the class. Now, assignment. Let me do a quick explanation of the assignment. First, you are going to pick a concept or a product, either a physical product, and classify its components under UI and UX. Let's say you are picking, okay, I'm going to use a digital product, Spotify app. I think we're all familiar with that. So Spotify app to me is a good example of UI design, right? The placement of buttons, the color choice, and all that pass for a good UI. And for user experience, on your home screen, you see your recently played, you see your favorites and all there for you to pick. So it taps into your day-to-day listening, then brings the most listened to music to your home page, right? So that is an example of a good UX. So also give one example of a product with a good UI and a bad UI. Yeah, you are just um, focusing mainly on the UI part. Is it aesthetically pleasing? And the last question, last assignment, in your own word, summarize the whole design process. And I think that's clear enough. Your mode of submission, a Google Drive link. Make sure it is accessible. If you don't know how to make it accessible, you can let me know. I can quickly show you. So now, question time. Please, if you have a question, raise up your hand. I go attend to them now. Any questions? Okay, Peter, go on.
Okay. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. I have two questions. My first question is, are we going to have access to the slides, like after the class, or and for subsequent classes, are we going to be having access to the slides? My second question is about the assignment. Should I go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My second question, it's about the assignment. If I understand you very well, you mean that we should get a single product. Let's say, for instance, maybe Google Meet, for instance, and we state the like the good UI and the UX part of it, and the bad UI and the UX part of it. Or are we supposed to take a
Yes.
single product for UI UX? Sorry, for good UX, then another one for bad UX.
Okay. Let me start from the second question. You are going to, sorry. Okay, for the second question, you are going to pick two different products. A product cannot have both bad UI and good UI. It's either you have a good UI or you have a bad UI, right? So let me show you an example. Say, come in, please. Please confirm you can see my screen. Okay. So this is Nairaland, right? It's a blog platform. To me, this is a bad UI because everything looks rumpled up and the choice of color is not really nice to, right? I can't really spend more time. I can't really spend longer time reading. But let's look at Foodies. Sorry, I'm coming slowly. Let's look at Foodies. Foodies is also a blog website, right? And uh, the UI alone, the interface alone, it's catchy with a whole lot of images, like a whole lot of things happening here. The choice of color too, and the text size and all. So when I open an article to read, uh, when I open an article to read, I have pictures. The color are enticing. The fonts are okay, right? So I would spend more time reading on Fubi's website compared to reading an article on Nairaland. So do you understand that? So now Nairaland to me is a bad UI, is an example of a bad UI product. Why Fubi is an example of that, then put Nairaland, attach the link, then Fubi is attach the link. And for the um oh sorry, and for the slides, I will communicate that to you in the channel. Did I answer your question, Peter? Peter, did I answer your question? Okay. Moving forward, Igwe. Igwe, your hand is up. Wait, please, can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay,
Hamza, are you
great.
still
I
recording?
think uh, that question, I'm not recording. Tommy, are you still recording?
Okay, so I asked because after the class, before the questions, recording should stop. Thank you.
Okay. So, which email are we submitting the assignment?